as CSR increasingly seen its important linkage with business sustainability, a number of questions have quickly come into our mind. The first one is, should companies undertake CSR in this difficult time of COVID-19 outbreak? How should companies approach CSR at this time? And is there any business relevance and value creation of CSR during pandemic-driven economic crisis? Our two speakers will address these questions in their presentations. Before I introduce them to you, I would like to share with you a slide on some possible benefits of CSR during crisis. May I have the slide on benefit? Yeah. First of all, without going into details, companies doing well in CSR provide greater investments, values, and stabilizing effect in their stock price. Secondly, companies with good CSR reputation and practices will have greater chance to strengthen their market positions. CSR is a sound risk management tool since all CSR initiatives go beyond legal requirements. And fourth, companies taking additional care of their stakeholders during crisis will be able to win greater trust and loyalty from them. The last one is companies accord greater care and raise their capacity in performing their duty in crisis situation will enhance team buildings. From my point of view, crisis is indeed a time for CSR stock taking and think about new innovative actions. I'm very pleased to have Professor Caroline Agres from the academic community and Ada from the business sectors here to share their ideas and experiences on CSR in the age of COVID-19 with our audience. Professor Caroline Agres is the Associate Dean, Research and International in the BD School of Business at Simon Fraser University in Vancouver, Canada. She is also on the advisory committee of the CUHK Center for Business Sustainability. That's my center, actually. Dr. Agres has an extensive record of conducting international research on corporate social responsibility and sustainability. She has been associate editor for the Business and Society Journal and has co-edited 5 journal special issues on corporate social responsibility and environment issues. She has also been the chair of the organization and the Natural Environment Division of the Academy of Management, which is the preeminent professional association for management and organization scholars. Welcome, Caroline. And with Ada is the Director of Corporate Affairs and Philanthropies from the Microsoft Hong Kong Limited. Ada owns, drives, and promotes Microsoft Philanthropies initiative to realize Microsoft's global missions to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more in a diversified and inclusive way locally. So welcome, Ada. So we'll like to invite Caroline to start the presentation first on the doing CSR in the midst of crisis. Caroline?
Thank you, Carlos. I'm pleased to be here and so glad that I could be in the webinar that the Center for Business Sustainability is organizing. The theme is really CSR during times of crises, and I must say that some places of the world the crises have been going on longer than in others, and we've learned a lot of lessons through this. But the whole thing is that the scale and scope of the COVID-19 pandemic is really unprecedented in our lifetime. In many ways, this pandemic has reminded us how globally interconnected we are and how very fragile human survival can be. The global health crisis has had far-reaching disruptive effects on how people go about their daily lives, on how businesses operate, and on how governments ensure the well-being of their citizens and their economies. The pandemic has also had wide-ranging disruptive effects on international relationships, as well as trade and commerce. So we've been thrust into crisis management mode. We didn't ask for it, but it has happened to us, and we are surviving, some of us better than others. And the key thing, though, is when we're in crisis, we cannot be complacent, that we have been forced to create innovative responses and actions. We have been learning continuously what works and also some hard lessons of what doesn't work. And we're still trying to understand why this may be so in different contexts. So business is not as usual today. And while we do not know when this health crisis will be over around the globe, we do know that some of the current changes in how businesses operate will endure in the long term. One example is just what we're experiencing now. I doubt if there will be much resistance to virtual meetings, virtual conferences, and if anything, we'll have more of a blending of that. So the way in which we meet together and communicate has been fundamentally altered as a result of not that long ago, when before the pandemic. It's hard to believe that it's just been about 9 months globally that has come to our awareness. So one of the things for us, though, as Carlos has mentioned, is what are the implications for corporate social responsibility? CSR fundamentally involves developing and maintaining responsible and ethical relationships with a diversity of stakeholder groups. We can have very long lists, but in general, we usually categorize them into these groups. First are communities, and communities can exist at local, regional, and global levels. There are our customers and clients. They're never to forget our employees. Investors are a critical stakeholder group, as are suppliers, who we depend on, many businesses depend on to provide and operate. So, and governments are most definitely governments at various levels. And we cannot forget the biophysical environment. They're a stakeholder and they have voices, human voices who speak for it. So in the CBS, there is the VPI model, which is helpful in terms of understanding that CSR and sustainability really do have components. So it's helpful to think in terms of the values, what we say, what we believe in. Another component that's important is the process. So we look at management and practices. These are really around what do we do? And then there's the impact. What are the evidence of the results of what we're doing actually makes a difference in the world? So being a responsible corporation during the best of times is not easy. However, crises present a unique test of businesses' core CSR values, as well as the commitment to being a responsible corporation. And we take these crises as a way, as a proving ground, as a test of how really embedded is CSR within the organization's culture, and how will that help the corporate business emerge from a crisis mode, because values provide the guidance. The corporate values, CSR values, provide the guidance for what decisions should be made, and gives us guidance in terms of how do we enact those in those decisions. But the values during a crisis time can be particularly challenging when it's looming on, as we're seeing with many businesses today, in terms of financial crisis, economic distress. How can we remember the other values that we hold so dear? But our challenge now is really not to forget the other values, because that goes to the core of the identity of the corporation, and it will help survive the distressful period. The thing is that stakeholder groups we have found that watch for inconsistencies between what the businesses have said about their responsibility commitments prior to the crisis, and then check and see whether or not the actions that are taken during the crisis match those values. And it's in those inconsistencies that there's very much a risk of loss of trust with the stakeholder groups. They say during the good times, you said this. However, during the bad times, you do that. And in the meantime, they're going to say, you know, I'm not so sure that the values were really a part of the corporate culture. So that's one of the big challenges, is that when you're pulled by a stressful situation, you're responding short-term, emergency situations. However, the core values need to be remembered to provide guidance and strength in terms of understanding and following through on what you know are the correct actions to be taken, so that the identity of the corporation, the one that the employees believe in, the customers and clients believe in, and other publics believe in, so that they do not distrust the CSR commitment of the business. Because if there is a contradiction, oftentimes they believe the actions, and if it's not consistent, then there's a really there is an additional challenge for the corporation, maybe not during the short term, but later on, because distrust of the words is very, very fragile. So there have been significant crises, and we have learned a number of lessons from these. One that's really evident is the SARS outbreak in 2002 to 2004, which really epicenter in East Asian countries, but also in Canada, in one province, in one of our provinces. But there were lessons learned during the SARS crisis in terms of health precautions. And so when, for example, this current crisis came up, it was not that unique or challenging to implement certain precautionary health measures. Another set of crises that we can learn from, and we have in terms of what would be best practices, CSR and elsewhere, other aspects, is the global financial crisis, 2007, 2008. There have been many studies done on what did corporations do during that time, what CSR practices helped them, gave them insurance in terms of surviving the economic crisis. And we found, for example, in several studies, that being a responsible employer, how businesses have dealt with their employees during these crisis situations can not only help ensure the short-term survival of the business, but also those companies that held dear to the CSR principles had a quicker recovery from the crisis, and their long-term sustainability of the business was enhanced. And the key was, how do we treat our employees? When you think about employees as being a key, not only asset, but it is part of the human capital that actually keeps the business healthy. And taking care of employees is an investment. And if you do not take care of them, you very much lose that investment. And there are certain principles that came out from a lot of studies in terms of what kind of CSR principles in terms of treating employees were especially useful, helpful, and beneficial for businesses. 1, fairness and transparency in decision-making processes in action. Treating people as with respect in terms of knowing that that the decisions made were not playing favorites, that there was fairness, but also it was open, so people did not suspect that there were any negative biases involved in decisions, especially around layoffs or any workforce reductions. Another part is cost reduction strategies were shared equally. Now, what this means is that obviously financial distress, you have to cut back someplace. But what they found is when everybody shared the load in terms of sharing the pain, that did not compromise the community spirit of the employees. So that was a critical thing. We all suffer together. We all benefit together, but we all suffer together. And that helped maintain the employees' commitment to the firms. Another part is employees, communication and participation in decisions and actions. At the end of the day, what is an organization without the employees? They're the ones who get involved. But this goes back to the equality and fairness, but not involving employees, not alerting them, not giving them the chance to voice their concerns or their suggestions really was a negative factor. So the CSR principle around is about a community, and we involve all members of our community who are affected by certain actions. So when employees could understand what was happening and why, and being able to voice and contribute perhaps to solutions, it did help in terms of survival and the longevity of the firms. Another one is voluntary reductions in workforce. Sometimes that's not possible, but the first step is if there is not the financial ability to support the current workforce, to look at alternatives, to look at ways in which, for example, giving extended leaves, but also allowing people to volunteer first who are more able to leave the workforce, rather than having involuntary layoffs. Involuntary would be the last resort, because then, and especially bad if people have not been alerted for the reasons for it and communicated to about this. So even in an emergency crisis situation, the notice does not have to be much, but people have to have notice to mentally prepare and sometimes to financially prepare for more difficult personal times. So that was a critical thing. So for the people who could leave the workforce, you help them along and you treat everyone with respect. This is probably the most fundamental one. People are treated with respect throughout, and care and empathy. It's hard when the managers are also suffering, but unfortunately, this is one of the tasks, especially during crises, is to help all people survive. And one thing in which I do think that has been emphasized and reinforced during the COVID-19 is we are looking and caring for the health of our employees and our communities. But our employees, what is coming to the fore is it's not only the physical health, but it's also the emotional health, because the circumstances have created additional stressors in situations where the schools are closed, you cannot take transit, there's isolation for one's family members because of health concerns. And all of that is brought to the fore that I think never before to the same extent that employee CSR now incorporates to a larger sense the looking after the emotional well-being and health of our employees. We've had that before, but I think there has been necessarily a higher emphasis on this, and I think that will remain because it has been a traumatic experience for a number of people. Even if they have not personally gotten ill with this virus, they have family members and friends who have suffered. And the circumstances of this particular pandemic have made that even more difficult for people to manage. So there are certain things that we can learn from in terms of fairness, equity, involvement. We know these are best HR practices, but not to forget these throughout. And I would say that these CSR principles about respect and care and empathy apply also to the other stakeholder groups. Our customers and our clients, we need to take care of their health. We see that in the precautions taken in stores, right? And so we do that. We take care of our suppliers. The involvement part is very important there because they are also suffering. But once the pandemic is over and conditions return to some semblance of normality, most certainly you'll need the suppliers to continue on the business. And then our investors, of course, always looking after the investors. But, you know, a lot of companies are taking short-term hits right now on the economics. But the one thing to keep through that is it's a temporary downturn. We've had these before. And that's why the impetus is to manage everything else so that we can emerge from this. And of course, our local communities. We are not disconnected from our local communities. Whatever business does affect everybody in who is in there. Our employees are part of our local communities. We automatically have that connection. But the local communities are looking to businesses to help them manage through these difficult times. So one thing is during crises, the critical objective is really to take care of and to nurture stakeholder relationships that are not only essential for short-term survival, but also the long-term sustainability of the business. And even though this may look somewhat different than before the crisis. So I must say, in closing, the COVID-19 pandemic, we would say maybe reinventing business as we knew it. Okay, certain aspects of what we are doing now will continue. But one question which we need to ask ourselves, and we're probably doing as we write for the last few months already, and will continue, is whether this pandemic is also reinventing what we understood to be CSR. And so I really look forward to your questions and maybe some ideas and recounting of your experiences, how maybe you are reinventing CSR in your businesses. Thank you.
So, thank you, Caroline. Caroline conveyed a very clear message that even in the midst of pandemic crisis, the companies should insist to do CSR because it will be good for the company anyway. So, then we come to Ada. Ada, please. Ada's presentation is coming together to combat COVID-19 is the central theme of her speech. Please go ahead, Ada.
Thank you. Yeah, let me share my screen first. Yeah, there's my second screen. Hello, everyone. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. So, hello, everyone. Hello, Professor Caroline. Thank you for your part to start a very good foundation for what I share now. So, as a corporation, we are actually, my role is philanthropy in Hong Kong. So, Carlos. Thank you for Carlos for inviting us for the CUHK Business School to invite me to share the sustainability. My share actually will be two parts. One is our signature program, which is happening with or without COVID. It will lay the foundation for me to share that what we are doing already business as usual. But with that, with the COVID-19 suddenly come out, we can make use of what we are doing to expand it to help to tackle the issue. So the second part will be how we cope with the COVID-19. And in my presentation, you can see that I know that most of the audience, you are maybe coming from corporation or maybe coming from SME or even NGO. In my presentation, you can see that Microsoft is a global company. You will think that maybe our headquarters has given us a lot of resources, strategy, and direction to empower us to build more impact to the local Hong Kong subsidiary. And you may say that, but I'm not a global company. My company may not be able to provide all the strategy, all the funding, all the resources. But I would like to say that for me, working in the CSR field more than 15 years, I work for different companies for the CSR role. I know that sometimes that we need to proactively find a strategy may not be able to provide by my company, but I can find it somewhere by looking at all the best practice from different company, by learning from different seminar, by looking at all the news of what the other company are doing on the CSR, you can really get a lot from them. Then you can develop your own strategy. So I hope my sharing today can inspire you that how you can adopt other good practice that you may be used for your company to help to build more impact to the community by yourself. So let me kickstart. Actually, my role is philanthropy in Hong Kong, but it's this one thing is really interesting. For all my previous experience working in different CSR team in different company, some I may be under marketing, some I may be under HR or brand and communication. But in Microsoft, I am under the legal and corporate affairs department. That is, my boss is a lawyer. My peers are all lawyers. The reason is that we want to do CSR, not for, we only use the word philanthropy in Microsoft, but I know that you guys are using CSR. Doing CSR is not for branding or not for doing good for the ESG report. We are doing philanthropy work or CSR work is actually to want to improve or help the economic growth of Hong Kong. And also, if possible, we want to drive the policy change to make a better Hong Kong. So therefore, I am working under the legal team. That's the reason. So I have a lot of engagement with government or different corporate KOL or some influencer in the market. So a brief introduction of myself. So Microsoft vision is to empower every organization and every person on the planet to achieve more. I really like our mission of the word empower. Empower, that means I will not give a fish, I will not give fishes to the fisherman. I will give him the tools. With the tools, he can get more fish by himself. He can build more impact using his expertise. So that is what Microsoft is doing to empower everyone. And for the empower, we know that we need to begin with inclusion, because the organization or the person, they should know what technology is available to help them before they can really build impact. Therefore, my team's the key mission is the focus organization is NGO. We support the NGO tech adoption. For person, we help the underserved to upskill, to help them to get away from poverty. That is what we are doing. So first of all, let me talk about business as usual. Without COVID, we are doing all this signature program in order to pay for the future, pay for the impact for Hong Kong. So if any one of you is turn on your microphone, please try to mute it, because it will make some echoes that people may difficult to hear the sharing. Thank you. So let me share about, just now I talked about Microsoft has two focus: empower everyone and empower organization. For everyone, my team actually have a broad program called Future Ready. Our objective is to help the skill for employability, is to increase the equitable participation of computer science education to ensure that all youth and all people are future ready. Our strategy is divided on the right-hand side, generate demand, and left-hand side, to build the capacity. For the generate demand, we know that if we want the youth to know more about technology, in the future, they at least know what is coding. They are not scared about coding, not scared about device or technology. Then we need to let them start from the young age to learn coding or learn technology stuff. Therefore, we need to generate the demand, make them interested in it. So we have different programs to build the awareness, build the interest. The first one on the right-hand side is called Hour of Code. It is a 1 hour game-based learning to let the student in that 1 hour to learn what is coding. It is really funny because all the different year, we will support the NGO to develop different skin for this one and build in all the new technology element. The kids are really looking for that in Hong Kong and the other part of the world. Every year, we have different skin. Let me tell you what are they. Minecraft, Frozen, Angry Bird, although you are not a young guy, but I believe that you have heard about this. The kids are really into the Minecraft, Angry Bird, all that. So we have different skins so that the kids are really happy that looking forward to learn from the Hour of Code platform. Even the elderly, they can learn the basic coding in that too. This is a really simple one. And the second one, Girl Spark on the right-hand side. Girl Spark is another program that we want to inspire girls to pursue in the technology industry or pursue the study or pursue the interest there. Therefore, every year, we will have a program called Girl Spark. In the first few years, I target the university girls who study non-STEM subjects. I inspire them to let them see that, oh, in the future, I may try to explore technology-related career. And then actually at the end, 50% of them who participate, about 300 of them, already work in the technology field. I'm really happy about that. And then these few years, we target the younger girl because we see that we always in Microsoft, in Hong Kong, we always want to be the forerunner to set up the market, to start the trend. And then after that, I will, when everyone is participating in it, I will try to let the market do it. So these 2 years, I'm starting to engage a younger girl, the Form 1 to Form 3 girl, to give them all the workshop, all the inspiration, all the younger girls that who are doing good in the market to share with them how they can succeed in the market. So we inspire about 1,000 girls this year. And then the left-hand side will be the capacity building. We have 2 different programs to help the capacity building. Actually, they are the one that we want to inspire more NGO to do it. Because Microsoft Hong Kong only my resources, I may only able to help 200 special needs students to learn career, IT related stuff. But with the NGO support, they can replicate. One NGO can teach 200. And then how many you can see that the impact will be bigger. So last year onward, we teach the NGO who is doing some youth training to teach them the 30-hour skill set of a particular pathway. For example, last year, we set up a pathway called digital analyst. So from the very beginning, what is data, what is AI, to the advanced Excel, on the people function, analytic function, to a Power BI workshop. Power BI is a dashboard who can do all the analytics of the data to have a one-page view for people really easily to make use of it. So this is the workshop that we teach the NGO in order for them to conduct classes to teach more underserved. And we target the last few years, the underserved is the special education need, because we can see that give them some of this training, they can really spark, especially the autism and especially the physically disabled. They just need opportunity. So this is the one that we are helping to empower the youth to be future ready. So the next one is talking about empower the NGO. Empower the NGO that before you can read this wording, we have a tech donation for about 15 years in Hong Kong. Whoever are Section 88 in Hong Kong, the NGO, they can enjoy our products, our software free of charge or in a significant discount. So a lot of NGO is already enjoying that. But we know that we cannot just give the fishermen the tools. We need to give them training. Therefore, we provide a lot of different training, including the annual event. Every year, once we launch it, it is full in 1 week. And then C-level luncheon, we need to have a high level to top down to influence the people who adopt the technology. We have NGO workshop for the tech NGO. And then we also build cases to let more people to know how to use this solution into their service to make more impact to different people. So that is how we are working with the NGO on that. So after empower individual and empower NGO, one more thing is that AI is developing so fast in the world. We know that it makes a lot of impact, especially on the community. Therefore, we have another project. It's called AI for Good. It is including 5 pillars. One is AI for accessibility, AI for earth, humanitarian action, cultural heritage, and health. These are actually, we want to promote more AI solution in the market. If I talk to an NGO, the NGO will say that, what is AI? I don't know how to use technology to help my service. If they know, they will say that we don't have funding. After they have funding, they find that there's no IT expertise can help them in the market. All commercial party, they may not be interested to participate for good project. Therefore, we need to promote more AI for good solution in the market in order to close the ecosystem. Therefore, these are the project that we are working. And then, of course, business as usual. Every year, we will have a volunteer day with all our colleagues in Hong Kong going out to do a volunteer work. In the last few years, we have helped the elderly to do electronic autograph. We have support the mentally retarded kids to use 3D paint to draw, to inspire them on their art sense. So this is some of the project we do every year. So let me quickly go to my next topic. Is about how to tackle the COVID-19. First of all, I divided into a few sectors: community support, tools for their work, help for the business, and then to help the job seeker. I got a lot of the calls from the NGO during the COVID-19. They need to change their remote learning to Teams. They need to change all their meetings to Teams. They need to work from home, so that they have a lot of inquiry how to do it with Teams. I know a lot of outside people are doing with Zoom, with Teams, or with Google Hands Out. So all this is they need to learn. They are not used to all the technology. Therefore, we especially for Hong Kong, we tailor-make some one-to-one guide. Especially, we know that NGO, most of them, they don't have much resources. They may have 5 people in the NGO. The HR manager is equal to the CEO, which is equal to the IT manager, for which he had no technical knowledge. So we do this one-to-one step-by-step guide in Chinese and in English, hope them they can be really easy, user-friendly to learn how to use it. So we have video and some page guide. And then second, as usual, we have the annual Tech for Good Day, but this year we do it in a virtual way. Remember, I say that we do it face-to-face every time we announce it. In 1 week, it will be full. And our office only can cater about 150 NGO. Because of that, a lot of them cannot attend. But this year, we do it in a virtual way. 400 NGO attend and being benefit. We have all the sharing with different NGO share how they use the product to help them, different partner to tell them all the new solution and have some demonstration, etc. So that it is a really happy that can help all the NGO. And also we have some online NGO workshop for more in-depth training. A 3-hour training talk about Power BI, etc. All of them are free of charge. Other than that, a lot of corporations call me that either can I help the COVID-19 by donating our machine, our device, especially the corporate customer or the bank. They want to donate the device to help because they heard a lot about the student cannot do remote learning at home because they just using their mobile phone, a very small one. They cannot really read what the teachers say, and then they cannot interact with the teachers. Especially some software cannot be downloaded in the phone. So that a lot of NGO call me and school call me and the corporation call me. With that, I just see that I can be a bridge between them. So I can connect all them and also write on what we have for Microsoft. We have a computer refurbishment program. So all these are the NGO that can do computer refurbishment for the donor and to give it to the beneficiary, for which they can also have the license of Microsoft in a very, very low price. Therefore, the beneficiary don't need to pay a penny to get the computer. So that's what this trigger a very fast ecosystem during this COVID-19. Other than that, for the resources, during the COVID, a lot of people need the mask. Remember in few months ago, all the people queuing on the line, I'm also the one too, queuing on the line for masks, for sanitizer, for rice, for toilet paper, all that. So that is actually can make use of the system to make everything faster. Especially there's a lot of good people. They come out and say that they feel so bad. All the elderly are queuing on the line for the mask in the sun and under the rain. So that there are lots of good people come out to develop the production line to make the mask. But in that very short time period, how can they handle a system that can do a one-stop shop for the people who buy the mask and queue on the line? I believe that you guys have a lot of experience that you queue on the platform, the software, the platform, and then they say that the is not successful, a lot of failure, right? So we help some of the company to do this system, from the people who queue on the line to purchase it, and then the delivery, the whole process, just like what you are ordering your food every day now. So this is all the process in the one app. So that with the Azure power, the cloud power, we in Microsoft, our cloud called Azure. In Azure power, in one time, it can cater thousands and thousands of people. So you never will see that the queuing on the line app in the app then. So this is some of the project we're helping the commercial SME and some donor to do it. So I need to be quick. I know time is limited. The last part I want to share is the very important things. Is we can see that COVID-19 had made a lot of economic crisis. A lot of companies closing down. A lot of people is losing their job. Therefore, we triggered this new initiative in just 2 months. Is to help the people to get a job. Is to upskill them. Let me share it with you more details. The problem we need to solve: global health, global economic crisis during COVID-19. I don't need to explain more. You can see that a lot of company is in a big headache. And then we see that the company is actually, because of this, is transforming. I heard an expert saying that the transformation of the company needs 3 years. She say that in this 6 months, it fastened all the 3 year step. So a lot of company is transforming. They need to do remote learning for their staff, remote working for their staff, and also a lot of things need to put in cloud so that they can work anywhere, everywhere, anytime. So all that trigger some new job, not some, is trigger a lot of job need digital skills. With that, we can see that the unemployment who is coming out from the COVID-19 in Hong Kong is 230,000. 230,000 people are unemployed in Hong Kong now. With that high unemployment rate, we can see that the company are in high demand of the staff that who know basic digital skill or who transform already to help the company. Therefore, we see that there is a big change of the skill requirement. However, as a job seeker, for example, I am an airline crew. I being sacked by the company and I come out. I need to transform myself to do some office work. How should I get started? What career path can I go to the next stage? That all, they need a clear career path to help them. So with that, there's also some more data. In Hong Kong, there's a Hong Kong data. The youth, freelance, and SME are the key group that are being impacted by COVID-19. This is all the data that we extract from different reports. With that, Microsoft come out to say that we commit to help 25 million of job seekers worldwide to gain the new skill to this more digital economy. And then we use our strength because Microsoft acquired different company. LinkedIn is one of our company and GitHub also. We three of them has all our strength. We join together to help the job seeker to get a job, to upskill and get a job. The offer we give here is that first of all is the data insight. With LinkedIn, you can imagine that they have a lot of employer contact and then the employee data. They know that what job is high demand in market, what job that the employer always cannot find talent, what talent the employee have or the job seeker have, what talent are leaving Hong Kong, what talent are we recruiting to come back to Hong Kong. So all the data. Second is the and also the free learning resources. In LinkedIn Learn, Microsoft Learn, and GitHub Learn, they have all the good resources for you to do the online training. Range from a few hours to 20 hours, a whole course there for you to learn. And then the second is after you learn all this, how can I make the employer know that I have that skill set? Certification. Certification, we used to be $99 for Microsoft certification. Now we offer that for $15 during this COVID period for 6 months. So that is what we offer. And then also we have different tools for the job seeker to help them from the beginning, thinking of the career pathway to the end, the interview. What is the interview skill? All that skill set we are included. So all that, we hope that we have a holistic skill initiative to help the people really to get a job. So this is our free platform. LinkedIn Learn, Microsoft Learn, and GitHub Learn. We already have a lot of resources there, but during COVID-19, Example, LinkedIn Learn, which is cost we need to be paid before. Now they offer free of charge for this period. So then also just now I mentioned that LinkedIn have lots of data to see what is the biggest top 10 in-demand role in the world. These are the top 10 in-demand role. That is all the company find it so difficult to hire people with this expertise. So for the people, for the job seeker, or for you guys, you can take a look whether you can learn something from it. They are all free of charge. The one that I really want to focus is data analyst. Data analyst, now all the company are using data. All the company don't know how to make use of the data to make more insight. So data analyst is a really difficult hiring position, especially a data scientist. In Microsoft Hong Kong, we hire for a very long time already. Finally, we need to go from outside Hong Kong to find it. So, and also the other, like the IT admin, project manager, all of them are the high demanding job. So last but not least, here is the link to the site that I mentioned. It's called opportunity.linkedin. It is from the very beginning, 101. You want to transform, you want to learn more what is data scientist or data analyst. They have all the beginners course. You don't need to be an expert. You don't need to be a technical person. Even me, I study psychology in my university. I can also go in and really understand what's meant by data from 101 to a data scientist level and get a certification. So, and also in the link, they will teach you after that how to match up a job, how to build your profile, and then at the end, how to get an interview. During the interview, what is the skill you need to do? So all this is in a one-stop shop and free of charge. Hope that it can help everyone. That is our CSR mission, one of our CSR mission. So all in all, I recap that what I'm shared is from the beginning that how a company can do CSR and how to make use of it to match the what COVID-19 we need to help. So I believe that we have a lot of different discussion after the Q&A. So let me stop here. Get back to Carlos. Thank you. Carlos, you need to unmute, Carlos.
Okay, thank you, Ada. Thank you for sharing your corporate experience in doing CSR at the time of a pandemic crisis. In particular, I think it's your company has to using CSR as to speed up the digital economy transformation and adaptations. Two themes I think it conveyed. First of all, you need to align CSR initiative with your company's core competence. Second is empowerment. Empowerment in the form of capacity building for individuals and also for organizations. I think that two messages very clear. So let us start open the platforms. Anyone, any audience, any friends who would like to raise questions and have dialogue with our two speakers, please do it now. We may have 15 to 15 minutes for this.
I saw Brenda raise her hand.
Yeah, Brenda, you would like to go ahead first? You unmute. Can you unmute?
Brenda can unmute.
Yes.
Yeah, Brenda.
Hi.
To this webinar forum. Please go ahead with your questions.
Okay, first of all, I would like to thank Carlos very much for this very timely learning opportunity and the webinar. And of course, to the two speakers, thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedule in this COVID-19 crisis around the world to share with us. I have a question for Caroline. Well, Caroline, hello. And thank you so much for sharing. It's so nice to see you on Teams. I couldn't agree with you more on the importance of caring for our employees and the stakeholders at this very important crisis, particularly to uphold the principles of CSR. Is there any suggestion that you can give to us to demonstrate a genuine, caring, and responsible employer in terms of employee caring at this moment, because you spent a lengthy time in reminding all of us that employees being the most important stakeholders, particularly this crisis. So in addition to maybe giving them the flexibility of working and caring for the family and so on, what about their emotional health that you mentioned? I think that's a very important point, and maybe that would be an area that most corporations or even SMEs would need to pay attention. Any suggestion from you, Caroline, on this particular aspect, or any other areas you'd like to remind us, being an expert? Thank you very much.
Caroline?
Thank you. Good
Yeah.
to see you, Brenda.
Hi.
Yes, on health and wellness with the emotional aspect. The longer this goes on, the more it's becoming a problem, a challenge for people and the organizations. At the beginning, everything was emergency mode, the first month or so, and you were just too busy doing things, adjusting. But now that the realization has set in that this is going to take a few more months, maybe even longer, before we'll be able to return. And realizing also that certain employees, for certain employees, it's not so much of an issue. Their personal circumstances were not as challenging, or psychologically, their psychological type was such that they didn't need to be around others. But we're finding a particular challenge with people who are really extroverted in the way that they'd love to be with other people, and when they're deprived that physically with other people, when they're deprived that really does contribute. So yeah, at my business school, I'm in charge of the safety plans for things, and we do our programs. So okay, so one thing that has become more prevalent, and it's in the university's health and wellness programs, and having the listings for all employees to access. It is particularly important that this be confidential, because nothing will discourage someone from admitting they're having problems, especially if they're feeling under scrutiny or stressed out. So when we have, for example, any employee that, we know they're depressed, they're crying, people have been breaking down, they need to reach out. We've been emphasizing for our supervisors, refer them to health and wellness, because the managers are not psychologists. They don't know that people need to make it not a problem. It will not be a negative thing to seek out help. We've also set up things such as having mentors, mentors. So linking people up with regular contacts. So within departments, pairing people up to ensure, like, we have our weekly meetings, department meetings, but in between, I'd like, people who were friends before or will discover they can be friends, to keep in close contact on daily, every day or every second day, just to have somebody to talk to about anything. And that's for some employees need that more than others. The importance of having virtual chats. It may seem kind of, you say, well, what could you do? We spend all our days on virtual meetings, but the virtual chats with senior leaders in the organization, where it's 3/4 of an hour, anything, and anybody can talk about anything. But what's interesting is people show up and they're able to see others throughout, and it's not work driven. It's like, let's connect and find out how we're doing. And sometimes the conversations, the topics are open, talking about what are you doing, what are you going to have for your vacation. But just by virtue of actually seeing all these people in the organization who you normally wouldn't see anyhow, And then people, we've been finding out that people have been connecting after those virtual chats. So the virtual town halls, and not work related, it's about personal. So it's about enhancing the personal connections. So those are what we're implementing, and it is making a difference, but we're finding we're having to take more care with employees around that, because we want them to be with us healthy in so many ways at the end, and forcing people, encouraging them to take their vacation time, even if they can't travel anywhere. People actually need more of a break now than before, because virtual is fabulous. However, it leads to just sitting too much. And so the body doesn't get exercise. So actually for that, what we've been finding, people are saying, I'm going old school. I'm telephoning people because then I can walk around the house. I can walk outside. I can get a bit of exercise. And that's good, because if you sit too much, then the body kind of gets tired and the mind gets tired. So trying to do that and creating forum for people to connect that's very confidential is extremely important. So hope that helps.
Thank you. Yes, I truly believe that this is a moment of crisis, and behind any crisis, these could be opportunities and catalyst for positive change and innovation, both for the organization and as a truly CSR company, and at the same time also prove that humanity is beautiful. I think this is the best time for us really to care and concern and have empathy, as you said, and we repeated saying in your sharing on that. And with that, thank you very much, and I'll just give the opportunity to others. And so happy to see you, Caroline, online. Thank you, and Carlos.
Wonderful
and
to see you.
Thank you, Brenda. Any one of you like to ask your question or dialogue?
I saw Guru have want to ask some question.
Guru?
Yeah.
Yes. Hi. Hi.
There's a question?
Hi.
Yeah. Hi. You guys can hear me, right? So my question is that I have this is to Edda, and both the speakers are really very much insightful, and all the slide deck was really useful. So my question is that I do work in a CSR skill-based employability area, but in the regions where I cannot reach out, like, there's no connectivity. But how to do that?
Guru, you cut out.
There's a need of the skill-based training that I have to, as a program manager and as a program leader, I need to reach out to those areas, and it is becoming very difficult to reach out to them. But some of the things that you have shared in the LinkedIn opportunities, I think that might help. But how should I go ahead where I cannot reach digitally or technique through internet?
Either.
Yeah, for me, I would say that actually India is a very key country that Microsoft that is pushing this skilling initiative. So that I believe that you will see a lot of promotion there to let more people enjoy this, free of charge, of course. So first of all, I believe that, just my suggestion, I believe that there's still a lot of people can access technology in India. So I would suggest them they can start learning, start to make use of the platform to get what they want. But other than that, that is what just like I'm doing. I know that some people, they cannot access technology. Therefore, I just want to do a train the trainer model. The trainer who already learned this can go back to train the people who cannot access technology. You know that there's a lot of offline face-to-face training that the teachers just learn it online, all the information, and then they teach, right? So that I hope this can help a bit. Of course, the other way is that how to get the remote area people to have a computer or to have a learning class. For example, in China, our Microsoft China, there is some remote area, the school, they don't have computer. or they only have one computer in the whole school. So what they do, they just do a team meeting with one computer, is to project in the big projector in the class, and then to have the class together with the Beijing student. So that is some innovative way that you guys can think about or can do. And other than that, just now I mentioned, I don't know whether India can apply it. For the corporation who donate a computer, they always find headache is how to clean up all the information in our used computer and how to put back the Microsoft license, which may cost money. So that all that the refurbishment program may apply in India too. I believe so. So it's a worldwide program. So all this can try to find ways to help them. That's what I suggest.
Yes.
Thank you, Guru, and thank you, Ada. Any other questions from the floor? No. Whether like it or not, we are in business has to maintain their operation during the crisis. Thanks to two speakers, actually, they make me come to realize that actually CSR is an effective crisis management tool for the company to go through this pandemic crisis. And CSR can be a building block for companies to regain their composure in the process, and also to reinvent their capacities for post-crisis business recovery. I think that may be a way. And it also opened the way for innovative CSR practices, because as Ada mentioned, that we can't have business as usual now, so we need to look for innovation. And particularly, I think we are now well on the way, on the build-up way, bustling to a digital economy that probably offer a new opportunity despite all the threat and crisis. Before I draw the end of this webinar, I would like to advise that every company should do CSR, no matter whether SME or listed company in this difficult situation. But doing CSR just according to your resource constraint and management capacity, you don't need to put up extra effort to do it if this is not good for your business. CSR should be an integral part of your company, not something you need to consider as a cost. That's my conclusion. So anyone, so Ada and Caroline, do you have the last message to provide to our audience, our friends? Any last remarks?
Yeah, so Caroline, maybe I go first. I remember during our discussion with Carlos asked me, what is the effective or ineffective of a CSR strategy? From all my experience, I would say that ineffective CSR strategy is don't just give device, don't just give service. You give a holistic approach, give them training, give them the holistic end result. That is what are do and don'ts. And the other is don't do CSR just for ESG report. Don't do this just for branding. Do it using your whole heart. That is, you can build the impact to the community by your heart. And for the effective way, I would suggest that doing CSR, please try to think about the wording, create shared value. You have a lot of blocker from your management or from your peers, why we need to do CSR is a waste of money. But if you can think of some way to create a shared value with the other team, create a shared value with the government, create a shared value for the Hong Kong community, that you can be have a sustainable CSR. And also try to do the impact, not only one-to-one, try to make a breadth or depth impact. Just like what I share, I want to build an ecosystem so that not only one organization being impact, is the whole Hong Kong economy can help. So this can help your sustainability. So that's my sharing. Thank you.
Caroline?
Yes, Ada, good points. Very good points. To add on that, a lot of CSR does not cost money. It really does not. When you are involving people, you are empowering them. It does not cost the resources. If anything, it might cost time, but that is rewarded so much in the relationship building. And never to forget, it is about relationship building. And it's when we build relationships, we are with the people through the good times and the hard times, because at the end of the day, that's what we have to keep in mind. It is a long-term commitment. It's not a short-term commitment, but oftentimes the best relationships do not involve money at all. Sorry, you're in philanthropy, you're building relationships, Ada, but within our companies, in terms of with our employees, and emphasizing with our communities, being there with our communities, being with the companies in the supply chain. And such, they really, that doesn't cost a lot of money, but it is invaluable relationships. And one last thing, we haven't mentioned sustainability in terms of the biophysical environment. I must admit, the paradox is because of this pandemic and the economic downturn, in some ways, the environment has been a beneficiary. Climate change has actually been the emissions for climate change have actually come down. So that's a paradox, and keep in mind that Mother Nature has been benefiting in some ways from this economic downturn. I just wish it hasn't been at such an expense. But maybe on the environmental thing, when things ramp right back up to normal, it will be with new technologies and new ways so that we will be able to also continue protecting the natural environment.
Okay, thank you. I hope that before long, all the company can use CSR to get them out of these difficult situations. And I also thank all the friends, all those who join us in this webinar. I hope to see you in the near future in another important topic of CSR. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Thank you.